always think we would know more by this point.
Hey everyone, Ben and Aubrey here, and today we're talking about Halloween Horror Nights 32. What we know, a lot of what we don't know, and because of that, there's going to be a lot of speculation. Who doesn't love a good speculation?
Halloween Horror Nights is quickly approaching. We're already in July. We're less than 2 months away from the very beginning opening ceremonies, and
we don't know anything.
Universal, you haven't filled us in on much. Most of the time, when YouTubers put out a video about HHN, shortly afterwards, Universal likes to announce something. So we're sorry if we miss whatever's coming up for the announcement, but you're also welcome because they put out an announcement because
Making
of this.
Stuff happen.
Right? Because Universal's listening.
Yeah. No.
Right?
Does.
Let's dive in to what we know about Halloween Horror Nights 32.
The big thing we know so far is about houses. The first house that got announced last Halloween Horror Nights, right after last Halloween Horror Nights, was the Chucky house. And the Chucky house is going to be based off of the TV show and not the old school movies.
When I heard they announced the Chucky house last year after HHN had wrapped up, I had mixed feelings.
Yeah.
We started watching the Chucky series. It's
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not the biggest Chucky fans. Now, don't get me wrong, like walking through a Chucky house will be creepy AF. They will be able to set up some very good scenes in that maze, like certainly. However, there are bigger fish to fry, in my opinion, and houses that creep me out a lot more that we know about. So, Chucky, like, it'll be a good house, especially for people who love Chucky. Like, it will be good. I guarantee it. Like, but I look forward to rating the houses because I don't think that this is going to fall very hard.
Yeah, I see Chucky being sort of a middle of the road house for us, at least for the initial like rack and stack, of which obviously there's only 2 houses right now. So like I see it being already number 2 of 2.
Easily.
But I think it'll be a solid house. I think it'll fall right in the middle for us.
And given like we've been wrong in the past of houses that we thought were going to be here, but then we put them up here. So like wait and see.
You give Universal a year to plan anything, they're going to crush it. So.
They're going to do it right.
Now the house that we're the most excited about that we know of already, and it was the latest release, was The Last of Us.
I have chills and just feel gross thinking about it. The Last of Us house, which, mind you, is based off of The Last of Us game, video game, versus The Last of Us HBO series, but they do match up pretty darn well. Yeah. We have both binge watched the game on YouTube, people playing it, because we don't have the game, as well as we watch the TV series, and it's pretty impressive like how well they line up. I know that you gamers out there are gonna be like, well, there are differences.
Sure.
And yes, we completely agree. There are some differences. But overall, if you watch The Last of Us on HBO,
you'll get a good idea.
You'll get a good idea what's coming at you.
And I think it's going to be super creepy. I think it's one of those things that like the fungus itself is probably going to grow throughout the house.
Yeah.
I imagine it's probably going to be something like the Descendants of the Destruction house, where they had like
it gets deeper and darker.
Deeper and darker, and like the monsters and the clickers are coming out of the woodwork.
Right.
Like that's kind of how I imagine the house. We'll get to this more as we talk about scare zones as well, but like how they could play it with the expansiveness, like the fungus is expanding. Like I said, we'll get to that more when we get to scare zones, but The Last of Us, in terms of being
it's my top house so far.
The top house, kind of the top IP that's coming to Halloween Horror Nights 32, like,
and that's with the rumored houses as well. Like we've talked with a number of people on our Instagram about the houses they've looked forward to, what they'd like to see, and The Last of Us is clearly one of the main houses people are excited for. It just is gonna be gross.
It's gonna be creepy. Clickers and crazy humans.
But it's gonna be so good.
Yeah, it's gonna be so good. Monsters trying to give you a kiss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So based off those are the known houses. Let's talk about the rumored houses and like the strong rumors.
Strong rumors.
So like the first one that I want to hit on is obviously the powerhouse of the rumors. And it was rumored last year and it fell through, but Stranger Things. I don't know much about Stranger Things, so.
I was wondering where you were going to go with it because I
know nothing about Stranger Things.
So I have watched all of Stranger Things, been following that series since it started. Ben has probably listened to it in the background while I've watched it, if he even paid attention.
Vecna. That's about all I know.
You're lucky to know that, because I feel like you didn't even pay attention. I think Stranger Things would be a fantastic house, and especially with Vecna in play, it will be pretty. I don't even want to say gross, because that's where Last of Us brings me.
Oh, yeah,
but like, Stranger Things will be intense. Like, it will be good. Unfortunately, I never got to go through the Stranger Things house, 2 years ago when it was out? Was it 2? 2 or 3 now? But never got to go through that one, but I heard great things about it. I think Universal will do a great job with Stranger Things if it comes this year. I'm curious if it will, mainly for the reason of it seemed like it was going to be there last year. That fell through. The next and final piece of the series doesn't come out until 2024.
But I think personally, I think that's why it will happen this year.
Teeing it up?
Because like it didn't happen last year, there would have been almost 2 years of a hiatus of Stranger Things. That's why I think it will, is like you can still play on season 4 that came out last year. Now you build excitement again with Halloween Horror Nights, and then you get the release date of the final season 5 next year. It's like it just stays in the limelight for that much longer.
That's true. It will cost a lot of money for Universal, and having Last of Us is already a huge draw. And so I think if Universal is able to pull it off and have both The Last of Us and Stranger Things, HHN will blow up this year.
Yeah.
There will be so many people there wanting to go through those 2 particular houses that it will be packed.
The latest rumor, and I don't know how I feel about this one, so let us know if what you guys think about this one, and it's Dueling Dragons.
I think it would be awesome.
I have mixed feelings about it, because like, yes, it's a throwback to like old school Universal with the Dueling Dragons before Hagrid's.
Yeah.
But where are you gonna take it?
Now, on the spec map, there's specifically a
Castle.
A castle with a dragon. Now, if they were dueling, you'd think there'd be 2.
There'd be at least 2.
I feel like, if anything, that's a small hint towards a Dueling Dragons house.
Could be.
And I could see Dueling Dragons to be set up. I think it could be one very creepy. Like, you're just trying to stay out of the way of 2 dragons dueling and going through this house. But then 2, think about it from the idea of how they did the Monsters house last year, where like at the end between the werewolf, mummy, and Dracula, somebody won. What if at the end of the Dueling Dragons house, you have a dragon every other night that like changes who would win? Like, that would be kind of fun as well.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I just don't know where they're gonna take it, because it's like a dragon is such a big thing.
Yeah, it can't be just a small scare actor, right?
It's not gonna be a small scare actor, and then it's like, because it's so large, like where are you gonna take it? Like, it's not gonna be in every scene, so what are you gonna use as filler during each scene of the house?
It could be like El Chupacabra was last year as well, where like
you've got people that are like,
but I don't know how they would do it. I'm not creative Universal creatives are.
But if they came up, that's a good point. Like with those puppets that they had for the Chupacabra house last year, like they had puppets that are giant dragons.
Dueling
like that
dragons.
Would be cool.
And wouldn't that be creepy?
Breathing fire at you.
Also, speaking of that, looking at the spec map, the location that they currently have this dragon and castle is over by where they did El Chupacabra last year. I don't remember if that's the exact same line, but either way, like it lines up pretty well to be able to go into one of the big, what are those called?
Oh, the soundstage.
Yeah, in a big soundstage. So there might be room if that's a location for it. I have another rumored potential house of sorts that I think that could be very interesting. I don't know if it's really going to end up coming.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
But on Twitter, Lady Gaga had jumped in on some things, kind of like The Weeknd did last year, not nearly as committed. If there was a Lady Gaga house, 1, I don't know how much you know about Lady Gaga, but 2, how cool do you think that would be?
You know, I was hesitant with the Weeknd house last year about how it would be, and it blew me out of the water. Like, it was one of those that was a party through and through. Like, you had a great time in the queue. The house was creepy, but it still had that sort of like party aspect to it. Like, I don't think you could just like leave that house without singing Blinding Lights. Like,
Oh, there's so many Weeknd songs now that just get stuck in my head because of it.
And so, like, the idea of bringing a pop artist in particular back, I think adds a nice little uplift to Halloween Horror Nights, and it's not just all serious, like, Rob Zombie music. So, like, a Lady Gaga house would be a bit of a party. Universal Creative, like we said earlier, will crush it regardless. And so, like, if Lady Gaga or some pop artist came, I would probably be all for it at this point.
Now, you did make a good point. I don't think you even meant to do it just now, but you mentioned Rob Zombie. We will get to scare zones in a bit, but there was a Rob Zombie scare zone back in the day.
Yeah, well, I want to say it was like 2018, 19.
Even if it was a Lady Gaga scare zone, that would be pretty cool. Good music. She like her monsters, you know, like she would fit into the scheme of things with HHN very well, whether it's a house or a scare zone. I think it's harder for me to picture a house, but I also could not picture what the Weeknd house would be like.
I don't think any of us did.
Aside from watching his music videos, and they did a really good job just kind of weaving that into a HHN house, I think it'd be more difficult to weave in a Lady Gaga house. If you guys disagree with me, like, tell us in the comments. I'm very curious about your thoughts about Lady Gaga and if that's even gonna happen. But even if they just had like a Lady Gaga themed scare zone, that would fit for me. That would fit. She's got enough music and enough good music to be able to play in that scare zone to make it really fun, kind of upbeat, but at the same time, a bit creepy.
Lady Gaga, give us a hint. Are you coming to HHN 32?
Yeah. One that we feel pretty strongly we know this is happening is Universal Studios Monsters Paris. Potentially, we've heard, is like Phantom of the Opera versus Dracula. If it's anything like last year's Universal Monsters house, they'll knock it out of the park.
Nobody does classic monsters like Universal. Like, that's just bar none, like, not even a competition.
They say they're gonna do a Monsters house. I trust it's gonna be amazing. Yep.
You know, the idea that it's Phantom of the Opera has me a little apprehensive.
Why?
Because it is a sort of musical montage. He is a very powerful character from like the Broadway aspect. How they're gonna weave him in with Dracula, I don't know. Like but like we said, I think nobody does classic monsters like Universal, so Universal Creative will crush it. And where the Paris aspect comes in, I have no idea. There will be a classic monsters house at Universal.
Yeah.
Whether it's Monsters in Paris or somewhere else, I'd love to see like a Creature of the Black Lagoon.
I don't think that's happening for you this year. It'd be cool. Maybe in a couple years, but
Creature of the Black Lagoon doesn't get enough love.
You need that shirt, by the way.
It doesn't get enough love.
On to another house.
This one we're pretty confident about.
Darn confident.
Will come in some respect. They
had a Blumhouse last year. I would bet money they will have a Blumhouse again this year. And we strongly feel it will be some form of a split house again with Megan and like Insidious or The Exorcist or something of that nature, right?
Yeah, Zombie Chris talked about this kind of months ago about there being kind of an Insidious and Megan house.
Right, and The Exorcist isn't
It'll come out this summer. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is it?
Exorcist the Believer. There's a new one coming out.
A new one.
Is coming out this summer. What do you feel about Megan? The Megan aspect of the house.
Honestly, I think a Megan house would be creepier than a Chucky house to me. Like the AI of Megan creeps me out a lot more than like a doll Chucky that I could pick up and punt. Yes, I'm sure he'd cut me with a knife, but I could pick him up and punt him. The Megan movie, it was all right. I think we enjoyed that more than we enjoyed the Chucky series.
I'm less excited about the Megan aspect. So if they went with The Exorcist and Insidious and just stuck, like, I'm a demon fan. Like, demon horror, like, gets me far more than, like, slasher movies. So having The Exorcist, like, is already creepy because it's like, what are you gonna fight a demon with? I don't know. Like, nothing.
Ben loves demon movies.
And then, like, the Insidious is a franchise at this point. I don't know which one they'll go with. They'll probably obviously go with the newest one that'll get released this summer. So obviously we're gonna see that before Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
But even if they went with the original Insidious and had the tiptoe
sing the song, Ben.
Tiptoe through the tunnel. Like, nope, I'm out. Like, if they just had that on loop, no, I'm out.
You'll walk through it.
I'd walk through it, but I'm like, I would be on edge the entire time if they just had Tiptoe Through the Tulips on loop.
in just a dark house. Nothing else jumps
Yeah.
out at you except for maybe like a boo hole with a scare actor here and there.
God bless the team members that would have to listen to Tiptoe Through the Tulips on loop. But
That's what earplugs are for.
Yeah.
I definitely think that the creepier of the two would be either the Exorcist or Insidious side of things. Okay, let's look at the map again for a second here. But I am thinking about how last year we had the Bug House, which was a little kind of humorous of a house. And I say that, and it creeped me out. I'm very curious, based off of some of the houses we've talked about so far, like, do you think any of these houses will have some form of like a funniness to them? Or do you think, and I ask it because I think the Megan part of it, or Chucky, maybe Chucky, because it is a doll, like maybe that, I don't know, like, I'll be interested to see if Universal does something again with a house that has a bit of humor to it. The last house that we kind of wanted to talk about today is one that I really hope happens.
Yeah, same.
And I hope it leads us to HHN Icon. And that would be some form of Jack the Clown.
Or Eddie.
Or
Chance.
Chance, like
Yeah.
some...
Backstory house.
Yeah, to give us an icon for this year. If you guys have been following us, whether on Instagram or on YouTube, we've been asking for Jack to come back.
Bring Jack back.
Hashtag bring Jack back for a while now. I know I'm going a little bit into the icon side of things here. Like, the Pumpkin Lord last year was good.
It was fine.
But we really like the idea of an icon that can roam around the park during that evening. It just seems a lot creepier. And let's be real, a crazy clown
I hate
yelling
clowns.
at you in a megaphone. Like, ugh. Ben hates clowns.
I hate clowns.
I so badly want to get a picture/video of Ben around Jack the Clown. So as a house, what do you think?
The way I envision that sort of house would be like, it starts out like fairly quaint. You see like the circus aspect, and then you just see like him start to get more and more decrepit as you move throughout the house.
Yeah, going crazier.
Going crazier, getting darker, getting more violent. Like, that would be creepy.
Not the same at all, but it reminds me of, you know, when we watched the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix and how you were like, I'm just constantly uncomfortable. Like, that's how I feel this type of house could be set up to be, where you know it's not going to be good at the end.
Yep.
and you just have to watch it get worse and
yeah.
worse and worse, and ugh. And it's clowns, so like,
It's just circus and clowns, which is just
that's
naturally
Ben's
creepy.
nightmare.
Yeah. If you guys have any other ideas about what could possibly come in terms of houses,
Yeah.
be sure to put them in the comments. We'd love to discuss, because this is just super fun to speculate.
Oh, it's probably one of my favorite parts about HHN is like the anticipation. I love it and I hate it.
So let's talk about shows, and shows that we know.
Nightmare Fuel's back!
Nightmare Fuel will be back.
What was that?
I don't know, I butchered my words.
Nightmare Fuel is back. Very excited.
Not
to go to
officially
that show again.
announced.
Oh, yeah,
Was it?
yeah. It's on.
Yeah, everybody says it's on a long-term contract, so.
It's on a long-term contract as well as it's on their website.
Oh, I stand corrected.
So it's back.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a lot of leather, a lot of fire, and a lot of girls dancing?
And guys dancing.
And guys dancing. You're right. I was impressed with the show last year. I also loved the music last year. It's my kind of music.
Yeah.
Big fan. A little bit of emo rock and whatnot.
If you need to relive the Nightmare Fuel from last year, be sure to check out Unfriendly Hero on Instagram as well as YouTube.
Yeah.
Tyler takes some amazing pictures and video. Definitely check him out for those sorts of content.
Yeah. We will go to Nightmare Fuel.
Oh,
I'm not
absolutely.
even asking it. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we will.
We'll go.
The only
I've
tip
made up-
that we have with Nightmare Fuel is just make sure you know when the times are, because like
Yes.
there were definitely times where we were like, we plan on going to Nightmare Fuel,
Yeah.
and then it was just like we got stuck in a house queue and
Yeah.
missed the show that we wanted to go to.
Yeah.
So
Make sure you plan accordingly. And also, again, the earplugs that you
Earplugs.
use for the houses, not a
half
bad
bad.
thing to have for the show as well. Let's talk about the other show. So we used to have a water show.
I'm still holding out hope that a water show comes back.
Now on the map, they have it listed as a show, and it's also, Ben will show you here on the screen, but like the place they have it listed is the entrance to Central Park, but also kind of in front of where Mel's die-in is I've heard mixed reviews of what could be happening.
Now, there was that gang of chainsaw people that was in front of Mel's last year.
Yep.
Now,
Great place for Eddie.
I don't consider that really a show.
No.
Maybe Universal does, but I'm still holding out hope that they have a water show and that the water gets fixed. The water show features get fixed prior to Halloween Horror Nights.
What if it's not a water show? What if it's a drone show?
The drone show, like, by all means, I'd be cool with the drone show. It might actually be a good warm-up for, like, the cinematic celebration if they bring that back once the water does get fixed. I don't know the whole details about getting a drone show, but I know Disney has one.
Could put something in front of Mel's Dine the way that they've been doing the small, like, dance routine section during the regular time. However, it makes more sense to me to put a water show back on board and spread people out within the Central Park area, mainly just so you're not bottlenecking everything. Putting it in front of Mel's during the daytime, it's not as crazy busy. You don't have your scare zones to worry about. Getting people to gather in that area versus out along the waterfront, it doesn't spread things out very well. And I do think they need a second show. They need something else. I hope that there's some form of water show. I actually liked, what was it?
Ghoulish?
Ghoulish, yeah. I liked Ghoulish last year. I thought it was pretty cute. It was not creepy.
No, it was funny.
It was funny, if anything. They have the means to do it. It's just more a matter of have they finished the water shows, like, fixing yet.
But it brings up a good point about that scare zone and what we know about the scare zones right there, because on that map, Holidays is the scare zone right next to Central Park.
Yeah, let's talk scare zones.
Like, Holidays was a maze in Universal Hollywood back in 2018, 2019, somewhere along those lines, where...
Fact check that,
yeah,
please.
Fact check me. I know it was right around that time, 18, 19 time frame, but pre-COVID. Kind of walked through the holidays, each of the holidays, the calendar year, and the decrepit holidays and the holiday characters they're in. I have mixed feelings about how that would be pulled off in a scare zone, because in a maze you can very segment the rooms based off the calendar. You can't really do that with a scare zone, particularly where it is in the spec map around that Central Park area. Like, maybe you can because it is a very straight walkway, but like maybe they just have the characters roaming around.
I, for some reason, feel like Holidays isn't going to end up being like the calendar of holidays and going through each one. In my mind, it's Krampus themed because that's the creepiest of them all. It just, in my head, that seems to be the easiest. You do some like creepy Krampus stuff. You got creepy elves and things like.
They did do a Krampus scare zone a few years ago too.
Yeah, which then if they have done that, which we know they have, like having a Krampus scare zone again, unless it just slayed last year. I'm hilarious. Then I don't know if they could pull off doing another holidays Krampus only themed scare zone.
And the other scare zone that is rumored is a continuation of the house, which is The Last of Us. Now, I think that's genius, especially where it is on the spec map. It's almost across
opposite side
of the park from the actual house. I love that idea.
I don't.
Because to me, that says it gives that house a sense of depth and expansiveness. Like the fungus is expanding across the park. I know there's people can be like you that are like, no, I hate that. Like, the fact that the fungus is spreading across the park, I think is huge, especially if that's like the IP for the year, which I could totally see is like, the fungus is spreading through the park and like you need to be careful because like you might get infected anywhere in the park.
If they do that, they have to set up like a random clicker here and there in other scare zones.
Oh, absolutely.
Just one or two.
That'd be cool.
Like just some random one that you're not expecting. But if they don't do that and they just have like plop a scare zone of The Last of Us on one side and then they have The Last of Us on the opposite side for the house, in my opinion, then you need to just like put them next to each other. So that way, you know, when you're entering the house, you get a feel for it ahead of time. And when you're exiting the house, then you still have people out there to just keep you kind of on edge. I see your point.
I think it's cool.
But then I feel like it needs to be all around the park. You're gonna have to go back to the hotel and just live in the shower and just feel like Bring antifungal cream.
Yeah. Yeah.
So gross. So, okay, back to scare zones though, just going over that. Like, there are only 2 scare zones that they've put on the spec map so far. We don't know much else about it. I will go back and I will reiterate, I think a Lady Gaga scare zone, if she is coming, like, let's do that. Like, that would be really, really cool. If we're not giving her a house, let's at least give her a scare zone. Whatever our theme is going to be the main scare zone when you first walk in on the Minion Alley Boulevard. Still waiting to hear, do we have an icon? What's the theme of 32? What are we doing this year, Universal? Like, we're ready. We're ready to roll. Let us know.
So we went over some of the things that were like, we know, some of the speculations based off the spec map. What do you hope still has to be announced? Based off the rumors or what you want to see happen?
What I do hope happens is I do hope there's a Jack the Clown house. And second to that, I hope Lady Gaga somehow. Because I just liked the Weekend house so much last year. Yeah.
The thing that I hope comes, and I hope. So, Universal, if you're listening, Scream. And Ghostface.
Interesting.
I still hope with the new Scream movie that came out, I know it's been a little bit since it came out, so there isn't as much of a draw to it, but let's get a Scream house there and have Ghostface chase you through the house.
That would be a scary house. Oh boy, like that could be interesting.
That'd be
cool. Okay. I totally forgot about Scream. I'm not to be a Debbie Downer. I don't know if they're gonna bring it, but
if you guys have any ideas about what what you'd like to see at Halloween Horror Nights 32,
or what your favorite scare zones and houses were in the past. Like, we always like looking back because I think it tells us a little bit more moving forward. So
put them in the comments because we love to have this discussion and speculate together. If you got anything out of this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And stick around for more Universal content. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.